Hey, Nacho. Hey, Riley, you there?
I'm gonna invite Riley.
Okay. Do I share the video?
I think it's okay like that.
Hey,
Hey,
Riley, how you going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Um, are we live, Nacho, or do you?
Yeah, it's live now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for jumping on, Riley.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So it's you've been on the tools today. You've been coaching today.
I haven't. No, I actually injured myself, so I'm out for today and out for a
Oh
little
no,
bit.
just a short-term thing.
4 to 6 weeks. I've fractured my shin bone, so I've still got group classes running, but I can't really be on court doing anything.
Um, Sorry. So Nacho, we're good to go. Have we lost him?
Yeah, it's
No.
already
All good to go.
recording.
Awesome. So Riley, I might get started
Yep.
because kids have a limited attention span, so we might as well get going. Thanks for joining us today. We just thought, given I've seen a lot of your content, and I love what you're doing in this space, particularly talking about your college experience and how kids might get there. And we've got a lot of young, ambitious kids who play regularly, and we thought it would be good for them to learn about this stuff. So maybe if I could get you to start by taking us back to the beginning of your journey. How did you get into basketball, and where are you from? And maybe if you could go into a bit of a starting journey there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from a small town in Melbourne called Whittlesea, about an hour out of the CBD. I started picking up basketball really, really late, like into high school. So early high school, I just started playing around with some of my friends, just as something fun to do at lunchtime, and then slowly developed a passion for it that, yeah, then took off. And I started, playing domestic teams and my rep teams and took it from there. But it was really like around the age of 15 where I started playing for fun. And then at 16, 17 is when I really took it seriously.
That's quite late, which is probably really good for some of our younger players that haven't yet made a rep team. So, what age were you when you first made your rep team?
I was top age under 18s when I first made a rep team.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
I always tell the kids that I train, especially those that are, around 15 or even younger, that no matter what skill level they're at, they're better than I was when I was playing under 18s.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And when so what was how long did it take you to go from domestic, what we call that local comp, to reps?
For me, well, I didn't actually play in like the usual structured domestic teams. My first season was in just an open age men's league. And I played in that for, I believe, 2 years. And then that's when I made the under 18s fours team.
Awesome. Oh, that's cool. And with how long early in your journey did you think that college was an option for you? Like a realistic option?
A realistic option was probably towards the beginning of my second rep season because I had been working out really hard and had a passion for it, but especially from my small town and even from Melbourne in general, like not a lot of players make it to that level, especially when I was growing up. I mean, it's
Yeah.
more common now, but then I realized that two people from my same town had also gone over and played college basketball. So at that point in time, I realized it wasn't impossible, and that's when I started chasing it. But that was
Right.
probably when I was around 17, 18.
Yeah. And did you have someone guiding you, or did you get all the information yourself?
Oh, absolutely. So, the one of the guys who was from my town who had come back, we started working out together, and then he was giving me lots of insights on what it's like and how I can go about it. And that's when I just started doing all my research and reaching out to coaches. But then I got, kind of secondhand experience from him telling me what it's like and everything about it, really.
Yeah.
So I had that guidance.
So can you tell us a bit about what sort of player you are? I mean, I guess a lot of kids might worry that you have to be, 7 foot to be able to play in America. Can you tell us a bit about your game and how tall you are and what sort of player you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very, very undersized. I'm 5'11", 6 foot on a good day. That's what I tell the kids. But
Collingwood
yeah,
6 footer.
5'11". Yeah. Well, growing up, really, because I started in my top age 18 season, I got put into playing the four-man position just because I was the tallest at the time. And then obviously the season after that, realistically, I'm a point guard or I'm a guard. But then because I lacked the confidence from starting so late, I always struggled to bring the ball and turn the ball over or whatever. So I developed more into that shooting guard position where I would just shoot the ball every time I caught it and play defense relentlessly. But then as time went on, developed more into that point guard role because that's how I needed to stand out
Yeah,
the higher levels I went to.
yeah. Are you super fast?
I am in Australian basketball. When I got over to college, I realized that my speed um, wasn't as high as or as fast as the point guards at the college level.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe we might just jump to the US college system. Do you
Yep.
think you'd be able to give everyone an overview of like the different levels and maybe the standard of each of those levels?
Yeah, yeah. So for those that don't know, there are three different brackets for college basketball. There's NCAA, there's NAIA, and then there's NJCAA, which is junior colleges, which are 2-year colleges. Everything else is 4 years. So NAIA and NCAA, they're 4-year colleges. Within the NCAA themselves, they have three divisions, 1, 2, and 3. NAIA is a whole group itself, and then JUCO and JCAA has three divisions. So it sort of depends what teams are, how you can rank them, but people usually strive for NCAA as the top level. Then you've got Division Two, NAIA, or some of the top JUCOs, and then NCAA Division Three, and some of those bottom junior colleges.
Yeah,
But to really break it down, like in all honesty, most of the levels are very similar. What usually changes is just the height and the athleticism of most of
yeah,
the players. Your typical guard at the NAIA level or the junior college level is anywhere from that to 6'3" spot, 6'4", and then your bigs at the NAIA level are 6'8", 6'9", whereas at the Division One level, you're looking at 7 foot, even 7'1", 7'2" bigs.
yeah, yeah. So if you were to maybe pick a level that might be similar to NBL one here,
hmm
just to give everyone a comparison, where would you say that standard is in the hierarchy?
That's a good question. I've always tried to compare them, and it's really tough because I think some NBL one teams could definitely compete with some of the higher Division One teams,
Mm,
but at the same time, I think there are some NBL one teams that would struggle against some junior colleges or some NAIA teams
yeah,
and things like that. So I can really only speak on NBL one teams here down in the South,
yeah,
and I know they've done some exhibition games against Division One teams, and it's been pretty tight. So
yeah,
I'd say it's very comparable to the college level, whether
yeah,
that's Division One, Two, NAIA,
yeah.
whatever it is.
So would you say, do you have youth league in Victoria, don't you, under 23?
Yeah.
So maybe youth league would be similar to D3? or D3
I would
would
say,
generally? I know there's lots depending on where in the country you are, and
yeah,
but just to give everyone a bit of an idea.
yeah, I would say if you're a good role player or a starter or a superstar at a youth league level, I think you have a good chance at making a college roster at the Division 3 level. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good. And so, can you touch into how the scholarships work on those different levels? And also, I didn't tell you at the start, but I played college basketball as well, and there are some rules around who you can transfer to and who you can't. I'm not up to
Yep.
speed with the current rules, but if you could touch into that as well.
Well, yeah, the rules have even changed since I was last in college, but from my understanding, they waived the rule where you have to sit out a year if you transfer. So I believe you
Right.
can just transfer and play straight away. Whereas when I was in college, you had to sit out a year if you transferred.
And is that regardless of whether you go from JUCO to D3
I
or
believe so.
NAIA or
Yeah, I believe so. I
yeah,
believe you can transfer up or down and play straight away.
yeah, okay. And what about scholarships? What's maybe if you could talk about what's possible, and then if you could talk about maybe what's an achievable outcome for, let's say, a good young player, like one of the top young players in your local rep team.
Yep. So first thing you need to do your research on, because I'm like as a player, you'd need to do your research on because I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but teams and like whether you're in NCAA or NAIA, they have different rules on how much money they can give out, but also how many scholarships they can give out. So, for example, at the NCAA level, they can give out multiple full ride scholarships. At the NAIA level, I'm pretty sure they're only allowed like very few full ride scholarships.
Yeah,
Now, they can assist you in different ways, whether that's the educational academic scholarship or an international scholarship or just basketball scholarship to break it down like that. But I would say if you're one of the top players in your rep team, let's assume you're in the ones or you're playing for your state and you're one of those top players, I would say you could look at possible full ride scholarships to maybe some junior colleges.
mhm,
And then if you were, let's say, at that youth league level, you could be looking at some partial scholarships to Division 2. And if you were one of the best in the country, you could look at some full rides into Division 1 level.
yeah, yeah. Um, if you're a one of the best players in Australia, and you got a realistic eye on the NBA, obviously you want to play at the highest level possible, a major D1 school. But if you're
Yep.
looking for the best experience, have you got any recommendations on how you should approach that?
Yeah, so that is a tough one. And I think it depends on your situation back here in Australia. See, I find that a lot of clubs can be very loyalty based, whether you want to call it politics or loyalty or whatever label you want to put on it. Where I've seen some players who have been in a great position at their club back home go over and play college basketball, thinking it's going to lead to bigger and better opportunities, and then they come back and they're either just where they left off or maybe even further behind because
Mm,
of leaving and then coming back. And some players who just tend to stick to the same route, end up being further ahead because they didn't go to college. But I would like to believe, and I believe that if you go to college and you maximize your time there, it is one of the best experiences you can ever have. I believe the
yeah,
skill development is fast tracked, like crazy being over there, training 5 to 7 times a week versus in Australia training 1 to 2 times a week. I believe you can put yourself in a great position to go over there, have a great experience, get some exposure, come back, and then, continue on from there.
yeah, yeah. And do you think it's best for a player to aim for a really big school in a large city, or like I guess what I'm getting at is I played in NAIA basketball, and we played against D2 schools. And what I found was the enjoyable part of it to me was going to a really small town, playing in front of 5,000 uni students, and they're just
Mm,
mad. And there's nothing to say that that experience is worse than playing, at a D1 school where you don't get many people there and there's not much buzz.
mm.
What was your experience with enjoyment while you're over there?
Well, in terms of like crowd sizes and stuff, like my college was in a small town where it was, it was a small school,
What school was it?
nothing big and fancy, just Bethel College in Kansas.
Okay.
So we played against some other smaller schools. We did play against some bigger schools, but we didn't have crowds, of 30,000 people or anything like that. We
Yeah.
had you had the local towns come in, the away teams, families and stuff come in, but the atmosphere was incredible. I
Yeah.
think our college got some award for being like having the best crowd attendance or the atmosphere being so extraordinary because even if we'd have 500 people at a game, it would feel amazing. It would feel there.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a downside for going to a small school that has, great camaraderie and a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
I don't think um, like people want to play in front of the big stages, in front of lots of people, have massive crowds, pretending like you're in an NBA game or something like that. But I think there's a lot of joy and a lot of value in those smaller games that just have a great atmosphere.
Yeah. And as far as academics concerned, can you touch on what's needed to be eligible? Two parts to be accepted over there, but also what standard you need to meet to be eligible to play.
Yep, yep. So at the NCAA Division One level, I believe your GPA, your grade point average, needs to be at a 2.5, and I think it slowly drops like 2.4, 2.3 as you progress further down the levels.
So
Even the NAIA level,
2.5 here would be a C,
I believe, yeah, I believe a
probably
C.
even a C plus.
Yeah, C because they when I was going to college, we had to pay for these programs to transfer it over, and it's also depending on your core subject, so it doesn't take into account things like PE or biology or whatever you've got. Classes are based on your maths and your English and your science
Right,
for the last from year nine onwards, I believe.
right. And
And
what about as far as uh, education while you're there? What does a day look like, and how much study did you do?
so every week you had three study hours that you had to do, where you'd go into your head coach's office and you'd study there for at least an hour at a time, 3 times a week. But then because you're on your own and you don't have, it's not like high school or primary school, you've got teachers babysitting you. You kind of have to find that time to study yourself, otherwise, you're going to get left behind. So it's honestly like at least 2 to 3 hours a night of doing your homework, doing your assignments, doing your studying, just to be able to keep on track and maintain that GPA. Because if you drop below whatever your school's average is, or we had a limit. I think if we dropped below a 2.5, or it might have been a 2.0, I'm not sure, you weren't allowed to practice or play. So you
Mm,
had to maintain that certain standard to be able to pretty much keep your jersey.
yeah, yeah. And as far as money's like NILs come into it, did you have any experience with NIL, or can you explain what it is and whether that comes into play at all at the different levels?
Yeah, so NIL just got introduced pretty much just after I left, which is a little bit of a shame. But essentially, it's just a way for athletes to be able to earn money off themselves, off building a brand, off their face, their name. NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. So whether it be sponsorships and promotions on social media or different businesses sponsoring you and paying you, to promote them in other ways or whatever. It's not necessarily paid by the school themselves. It comes from outside endorsements. So whether that's selling merchandise or promoting businesses on your social media, that's how that works, and you can get paid a lot of money through doing that. But I believe as an Australian, I'm not certain how it works because the visa that I use and lots of other Australians use to go over there is a student visa. And with that
Mm.
visa, you're not allowed to earn money in the United States. So I
Ah,
think there's ways around it by getting businesses in Australia to sponsor you,
yeah,
but I don't believe you'd be able to earn money from businesses in America.
yeah. Are there? Do you need to be careful about before when I played, it was completely amateur, and um, some players would get played for playing in the ABA, which is now NBL1, but you you weren't able to get a scholarship if you'd earned any money from basketball. Is that still the case? Do you have to be careful about that at all?
Yeah. Yep, you're not allowed to sign any contracts because you're not allowed to be a professional player and then go and play at the college level. So
Okay,
if you're looking to go and play in college, if you have the option to play NBL1, you can still do it. But don't receive any money or sign a contract.
okay, all right, that's good to know. And is NIL like? Oh, I guess you've already touched on that. So, could you just explain the the basketball, like the training commitment and what was involved as far from a team perspective, and also maybe some forward scouting and video stuff. Maybe if you could just give everyone a snapshot of what that looked like.
Yeah, so in preparation to go over, it was COVID, so it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I had days off from school where I could work out 3 to 4 times a day. And the player I mentioned before, who was in my town, he had just come back from playing college. So we got to work out together, and I got to pretty much learn from him 3 to 4 times a day, 7 days a week. So it was a lot of preparation on the court, and then it was also going to the gym and getting stronger, and then filming all of my games, making them into highlight tapes, sending them out to coaches, and all of that. So it was at least 3 workouts a day just to get to the point where I felt comfortable going into college.
Yeah. And what about once you were there with your team during the season?
When we're there, so season starts around that October time, or
Yeah.
September, October.
Yeah.
So for the whole month of August and into September, it's known as Hell Month. So you've got conditioning 5 a.m., 6 a.m. conditioning on the court or on the track, and that's every single day. Once you get into your team practices and games and things like that, you've got practice for 2 hours every day besides Sundays, because I believe there's some rule within college basketball that you're not allowed to train every single day. So
Yeah.
you have training 6 days a week and then an optional shoot around.
Yeah.
But that was the bare minimum. So that was your team training, and then you had an hour of weights every single day, 7 days a week, and then any outside workouts that you wanted to do by yourself to be able to separate yourself from the competition or work on your weaknesses.
Yeah. And what about team video stuff? Did you do stuff as a team or?
Yes, yeah. So we film not as much as you might think. We'd probably watch film once, maybe twice a week. We'd usually watch it going into a game,
Hmm.
but we would definitely watch it after a game and then study film afterwards.
Hmm. Awesome. Um, and if you got if you got advice for some of our young players who might want to do it, maybe if you could pick two things or three things that they really should focus on to prepare themselves to
Hmm.
play, what would that be?
It's a good question. I think number one is no matter what position you are, and no matter how tall you are or what ability you may have, every position nowadays needs to be able to shoot the ball at a high percentage. Whether you're
Yeah.
a five man or whether you're a point guard, you need to be able to shoot the ball. So if you can shoot the ball extremely well, there is a spot for you on any college team or national team as long as you can shoot the ball.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say, which kind of piggybacks off that, is make sure that you work on your weaknesses early enough so that by the time you get to the point where you're looking to go and play college basketball, you don't have any weaknesses. You're very well rounded. Now, lots of people are going to tell you that you need to just stick to your role and, as long as you're good at one thing, you'll be fine, which is true. But I see so many players that I train who might be 15, 16 years old and they can't make a left-handed layup.
Yeah.
And people will always avoid their weaknesses because they suck at it. Why would they take a left-hand layup when they can make a right-hand layup? And my response to that is, well, if you don't take your left-hand layups, they're never going to get better. And
Yeah.
you just limit yourself completely.
Yeah.
So number two would be working on your weaknesses.
Hmm.
And then number three would just be networking as much as possible and just trying to soak up as much information.
Yeah.
Whether that's talking to people who have done it before, messaging them on social media, or trying to connect with coaches, or just researching anything about college and coaches and programs and past players, studying film. Just grow your network as much as possible.
Yeah.
Before I went over, I was DMing every single player that was from Australia that had gone over to play college basketball, just asking them for advice,
Yeah.
asking them what it's like, what I can do to prepare. And
Yeah.
it's grown my network so much to the point where I still talk to some of these people today.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think it's helpful for kids to have a social media? Not now, under 10s or under 12s, but when they get older, do you think it's helpful to have a social media presence with your highlight reels, or do coaches not care about that really?
I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't think it's as important as people maybe make it out to be.
Yeah.
So, for example, like I did all of my reaching out to coaches via social media, all on
Yeah.
Twitter. So I think there are some platforms like Twitter or X that are really important, and YouTube and all of that to reach out to coaches. I think posting on Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook or whatever, I don't think you're going to reach coaches, or coaches are going to spend the time watching your film. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think post it, but I think you should put all of your efforts. If it is in a social media, it's got to be in Twitter.
Yeah. I do find they're going to be more interested in the raw footage rather than some highlight reels.
100%.
And
100%.
also some of the stuff that kids put on there can actually hurt you rather than help you. So just be
Yes.
careful. Yeah.
I've seen multiple highlights of kids putting things in their highlight tape that they think coaches want to see when it's actually the complete opposite.
Yeah.
But also little things that they have to be careful of, like putting music with swear words in it.
Yeah.
And it's little things like that. Like your music choice can show you a lot about who you are as a person, and the coach might just scroll right past and never look at you again because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, have you got anything else that you think we should touch on? We've got a couple of questions from people, but have you got anything that you think we should touch on before we move on to these questions?
No, no, that's right. Let the questions go through.
Okay. We've got Ollie Johnson. We did touch on this, but how much training did you do for a week? How many times would you train by yourself compared to team trainings? And I think he's talking about while you're there.
While I'm in college,
Yeah.
I would try and get at least one workout in a day, which is kind of tough with team practice, weights, classes, studying, and
Yeah.
eating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd try and get at least one workout in per day while I was there.
Yeah. Okay. And Jensen and Xander are asking, how did you get around playing against bigger and stronger players? You're fast, Jensen. Don't worry about it.
So get around bigger and stronger players was kind of interesting. So me being small and slower or weaker than all these other players, I didn't take a single layup. I didn't take a layup. In college, I took two, maybe three floaters, but the rest were 3-point outside shots. And I could
Mm.
shoot quick enough and confident enough that I could just catch it, let it fly straight away. And I knew that chances are I was going to make it.
Yeah.
So I would shoot it whether I've got someone who's my height closing out or someone who's 7 foot closing out. I would shoot it, and I was confident that I was going to make it.
Yeah. Yeah. How many Aussies are over there at the moment? Do we have any stats on that? Is there over 1,000 kids there at the moment?
Probably it probably seems like something like that. I see
Yeah.
new kids coming in all the time, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's all I've got for today, unless there's anything you wanted to add. Um, Also, I just wanted to tell everyone that we really appreciate your time. And I personally love young basketballers, particularly young basketballers trying to make a go out of, make a living out of basketball. So can we have our community get around Riley and follow his page? And I've just found you really helpful to deal with, Riley. So we appreciate your time,
Oh,
and
thank you
thanks for
for having
coming.
me.
Thanks for coming on and talking to our kids. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for having me. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to message me, message you. We're open to talk about it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Riley. Appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Okay. See ya.